What's up, guys? Hey, Group Coach Nation. How y'all doing? Okay, I got Manny Vargas here today. Manny and I go way back. Manny and I have sold stuff together. We've coached together. We've been on so many freaking Zoom calls together. Manny, you and I have never actually met in real life, in-person space though, right?
Isn't that the new world we live in, man? You feel like you're best buddies with somebody and you've only experienced them through a virtual world. It's like, what kind of environment do we have now in 2024, finishing 2024, going into 2025? Things
But
have
dude, we
changed.
got to get used to it. Once we all live on Mars, or half of us do, it's going to be that way. It's going to be like a 30-second delay. It's going to be even worse.
Yeah. Well, you know what's cool about that is that the moment that we do meet in person and we actually touch skin, because we're going to handshake, we're going to hug, we're going to do something like that, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be so much more excited because we've not met each other in person that often or ever. So it's going to be like we're going to be little schoolgirls having the ball of our life when we first meet in person, man. It's going to be
We'll be so emotional. We'll be
incredible.
like handshakes and just tears streaming down. Oh my gosh. We all like long lost brothers. No, we just like I shook his hand, you know.
But think about the truth about what that provides for us now in terms of connectivity in general, Chris, with the fact that you can build relationships with people virtually like this without having to invest the time. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't invest time. What I'm saying is you don't have to travel somewhere. You don't have to get in your car, fly on an airplane.
Yeah.
You can build really quality relationships with people based on new technologies that we have that we never had 20 years ago, which makes life that much more exciting. Right.
I think it's richer and fuller. Yeah. Because I would never have gotten to know you if it was limited to physical space. And this is so cool.
Right.
Yeah.
We know how well you manage your time and how serious you are about all those things you value. And I'm like, man, this dude is not setting aside time for anything that does not fill his buckets. No way.
Okay. No way. Let's get to stuff here. Because today, all you Group Coach Nationers, we are talking about the follow-up process. So Manny is an expert, like books, workbooks. I'll show you all this stuff. Manny's a deep expert in the follow-up process, because here's the truth about what we do from a prospecting standpoint. We spend an enormous amount of time and money, all of us do, getting referrals, getting leads, paying for leads. If you're doing paid traffic, if you're doing email sequences, whatever the heck you're doing, you're out there JVing, you know, the money and the effort is in getting leads. And then we got to sell them, right? But a lot of people don't buy, and that's okay, because your solution's not perfect for everyone. You just want your percentage as high as you can. But oh my gosh, you spent a fortune in time and money to get the leads, and some of them don't buy. And the follow-up process for those that aren't like instantly attracted and in is where the money is. Like you've stocked the pond with fish, and you throw the fish hook out there and you're like, oh, it's a cold day, they're not biting. And you go inside and never go back to that pond. This is about fishing and fishing and fishing. So Manny, you're the follow-up genius. First of all, how did you arrive at like the need? Because a lot of people don't see this need. How did you see this need and decide this is where I'm going to put my expertise?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would say a lot of trial and error over the years. And interestingly enough, I really don't hold back when I tell stories. It was in this summer, we were on a road trip from Vegas. It turned into a road trip. That's time for another time that we get together. We could talk about that. But we road tripped from Vegas to Houston, and then from Houston to Vero Beach, Florida, to visit my wife's family. And we had a rough road trip. It was really rough because plans got altered. It was supposed to be a vacation. Hurricane came up and barreled through, no pun intended. That was the actual name of the hurricane. It barreled through Houston, which is where we were going. We were flying in on Sunday. The hurricane started spinning up in the Gulf, heading north. And we're like, crap, are we even going to be able to make it to Houston? And so I had to pull an audible last minute with my dad, my 2-year-old son, and my wife all coming to experience this thing. And then we drove into the middle of a hurricane. It was a nightmare of a situation. We had no power. We're in a foreign world where I've never seen anything like this before. And so why I'm saying all that is because it was a very stressful trip for my wife and I for a lot of different reasons. And ultimately, after 2 weeks of that and then going to Florida and finishing off there, it didn't really end so well. I ended up coming back home to Vegas, and my wife and my son stayed back in Florida with her parents, which was part of the plan. But it really gave me time to reflect, and it gave me time to really reevaluate where I was with what I was doing and how I was doing it, and start to evaluate through this new lens of, and I might be saying that, I always say it, and I don't know if I'm going to say it right this time, but the ikigai, that model where you go figure out what are you great at, what do you love, what can you make money with, that thing. And so I went back home and I was by myself. I had a deep period of reflection for about 30 days, just in my own silence, in my own peace. And out of that came this idea. And don't get me wrong, we've been doing sales stuff for years now, right? I mean, I've working with you to sell, and been involved in lots of different sales environments. I was selling previously to, in that year before that, managed service providers, helping them with outbounding and doing different types of sales development roles, and so forth. And when I was going through this deep reflection period, when that event happened, after that experience with my wife and everything, I realized I didn't necessarily enjoy and love and find the same excitement in the other parts of the sales process as I did in the follow-up. That's what really got me. And I was like, man, I really enjoy looking at this like I'm cracking the code. I'm cracking this combination in the follow-up to figure out, that's the game that I'm playing. That's the way that I get to get out there to figure out, why are they ghosting me? Why are they not responding? What can I do to spin this dialogue? What can I do to get them back on track? What can I do to get this thing from, we just downloaded a proposal together and now they're not coming back to communicate with me. Why? And so when I solved for that thing that I knew that I would get excited about creating around and building around, that, by the way, Chris, I have been doing very successfully for a long time, was where I would win all of my opportunities in sales was in the follow-up.
Yep.
And so I was like, oh, I've been looking at this the wrong way for a long time and not honing in on the thing that I really unquestionably dominate in. And I know that if you were to come to me and challenge me in it, I would have all the evidence to support how I followed up, including celebrities, including corporate contracts from years ago, including. And so that's when I got to the point where I was like, okay, here's where we're going. Here's how we're going to do it. And out of that has come in the last just couple months, because it's rather recent we've made this adjustment to focus all in on the follow-up, that the products have started to come out, the newsletter's out, and our content is getting redone to focus all on the follow-up and get it out in front of the world.
I love it. Let me just say this for you folks listening in. If you are really good at following up and you close like tons of deals in the follow-up process, then skip this episode and go to the next one, because it's your natural skill set.
Right.
If you're good at delivery, at sales, at referrals, at leads, at building a team, at processes, at marketing, at PR, at authorship, at speaking, at whatever, but the follow-up thing is like, why don't they freaking buy and answer me and come back and ask questions? If that's bugging you, then figure this out, because I think it's really cool, Manny, that you're actually naturally gifted at this, because that's where the genius comes from for all of us, is like, where is that natural giftedness in? And this is really cool. Okay, so Manny, hold up. You got like books and workbooks. You got so much crap, right? All right, hold up. You got a book or a workbook there they can show me?
We've got both, actually. Yeah, we've got the follow-up paradox right there.
Okay. The book,
which is a couple months out now, and we just dropped this right here. It's that follow-up sales planner. I mean, this thing is fully loaded, man. I mean, if you open this thing up, here's the user guide, by the way, which is about 17 pages of how to use it. But then you can see it's a true workbook on the inside.
It's a step by 3 months worth. Here's how to find the gaps, and here's how to fill them.
Yep. It's really taking a executionable daily strategy to your follow-up activities that blend with what it is you have going on in a CRM. It is not a replacement. It is not a substitute. It is an addition to your sales process. It is there and designed to keep you having the optics you need to drive the activities that get the deals across the finish line.
I love this. This is why we have Manny on for the second time. We had him on a couple of years ago to talk sales. Manny, this is why you're on a second time, because like we hardly ever have a guest twice. We want to you guys have to figure this out. Okay. You have to figure this out. And if it's not your natural skill set, it's not mine, by the way, you got to figure this out. So Manny, give us if I was to say, okay, well, let me just ask this. What's the number one thing? We're all coaches, consultants here. We're all building high ticket coaching programs and masterminds. You know that. what's the number one thing that you're like, this is the for the coach consultant types that are building programs, high ticket, you've sold and been in that space for a long time. What is the number one thing? It's like, this is the problem. Like, let me just point to it for you.
Yeah. So that's a good question, right? And I told you right before we started this, I brought my papers with me because I'm even pushing forward and stepping way beyond boundaries from a previous place of how I approach things. And so I'm now looking at a lot of data to support a lot of what we're creating and how we're putting it into the marketplace, so that there's science behind it, right? There's real studies that have been done. There's real surveys that have gone out into the marketplace. So, the ones that I have here that I'll share with you that I don't disagree with, that come from another gentleman who's built a pretty big brand, and I'll give him credit because I'm not the type of guy that needs to take credit for stuff. That's not who I am. His name's Jeff Shore. But the number one thing is not enough time, right? So a lot of people say that they don't have time, to which, by the way, Chris, I'll say, well, you just haven't made that a priority. It's not that you don't have enough time. You just haven't made it a priority. And so because a high ticket coach, an author, a consultant has so many other balls that they're juggling that are going on simultaneously. And look, you and I, we've admitted to this thing. We know that this world, if we're building a business, is how do I do all of this? And so you start solving for X. What is that in this category that needs to be solved for? Look, if you're lacking revenue and you realize that, like you said, I was talking with a company yesterday and they were honest with me. They said, hey, we've got thousands of leads that haven't been touched. We are so good at getting them in the door and they're just sitting there and we don't even have enough guys to go through all of the leads. And so I was like, okay. To which one of the guys told me that he told the company, hey, stop marketing because we don't need any more new leads. We've got so many right now we can't even get through. Right. And so this isn't common, by the way. This is a very common theme. 2 years ago, I was helping out another guy, great guy, who sold a product to very high net worth individuals that were going to benefit from a complex trust structure. Now, you're talking about the same processes that the ultra high net worth individuals use almost by virtue of a family office that get them the benefits on the tax side by being inside of trust structures. And we were selling a product for $100,000 to $250,000. And the same thing, they were getting the leads in the door, but then you had all this gold that was in the list that came in that he told me verbatim. He's like, dude, I don't ever follow up with these guys. And I thought to myself, well, let me have fun with them, man. Let me go out. Dude, I went out and started swinging the bat, baby. And it was so fun, Chris. I'm telling you right now, it was so fun that by the time, and I actually have a document of this because I documented the 12-step process that I used. And the headline, as you know, of marketing speak, so to say, was and I'm paraphrasing slightly, I have to go back and look at it, but it is like the 11-step process that got high net worth individuals to pick up this phone and say, I effing love you, because that's what they said to me. That's exactly, they picked up their phone after I hit them 12 different times, 12 different ways with some nuances and some creativity and some persistence. And they would say, I effing love you before I even had a chance to speak, which means that we built so much value in the messaging and the sequencing before they even had a chance to meet me. They were excited to get me on the phone and have the conversation, right? Because one, I didn't quit. And two, what I did in the middle of all that was valuable. By the way, that's in essence how we approach a lot of the follow-up today. And I think that because you asked the question, it's just not a priority right now. But once it becomes a priority, then the question becomes, well, how do we do it?
And Manny, I think the reason it's not a priority is people don't, I think it's a lack of knowledge around this topic, which I'm really hoping this episode brings out. Everybody has a priority about making money, closing more deals, making this quarter better than the last quarter, all the things. This is where the money's at. Like,
totally.
Everybody has a list. So I'm like, well, I don't have a huge email list. If you add up all the relationships and the people that have commented and interacted with you on whatever platform for the past year, emails, all the stuff, you got a list. If that's 50 people, if it's 500, if it's 5 million, if it's 50 million, it's a list. And the truth of it is, if you have a 5 million person list, then you probably want 500 clients. You have the scale to handle that. But if you have a 50 person list, you probably want 5 new clients. And that would be a meaningful number to you. So wherever the list number is, learn how to follow up. Like,
totally.
Okay. That's where the issue is. So
there's a lot more, by the way. That's not
yeah.
like there's other, other stuff that they've said that the reasoning why they don't do them, not fun. They don't anticipate it to be successful based off that same study from Jeff.
Yeah, they're burnout.
Fear
It's
of
an emotional
rejection.
roller coaster. Yeah, rejection. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you're going to ask me a question, but I'll hold what I was going to say to after you asked me the question, because I didn't want to interfere with where your train of thought was going there, buddy. You take
I
back
don't
over.
know. Maybe my question will lead to whatever you're about to say. We'll see.
We shall.
Are you a dog person or a cat person? Is that where you were going? No.
I actually like both, man. I've had both, and
I like that. That's a good, safe answer. Okay,
yeah,
everybody can like Manny. Yeah, it's all right down the middle. So now here's what I'm going to ask: when you hold up a book and a workbook that's massive, people take that one of two ways. I want you to just speak directly to this. Some of us take that as like, yes, freaking all the answers are there. There's no way I can miss because it's complete. And some people are like, oh my gosh, 17 pages just to figure out how to use the real book that looks like it's 200 pages. How much time? I don't mean hours, but like if I was like, okay, I'm going to get this workbook and I'm going to start going after it. When do I start seeing results? Because that's really what we all want.
Yeah, it's a good question in the sense that it's measured, I think, it's a contrast between what it is you're doing now. And so I have to answer that question with one way that I always start. And if I need help with my follow-up, somebody might say, okay, well, what are you doing right now? First question.
Okay, let's just throw one out there. I'll just give an example. Yeah. We get people into our funnel, however, ads or organic or whatever. They either choose to join into some sort of community conversation, like a panel discussion or a group call or an individual call. And, just pick a number here, 20% of them buy. Okay. So I got 80% of them who are just falling off. And we send them a little bit of a thank you. Thanks for showing up. It was so great. Let us know if you have any questions. I don't know what to do next.
Okay, perfect. So in that case, you stopped at the thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So why would it be reasonable for you to expect for them to become customers without a continuation of adding value, necessary value, on a cadence that will afford them the mental capacity where you're going to, in essence, fill the gap for them that will lead them to the conclusion that you need to be a part of this program? Okay. So I said, well, what are you doing now? And then that's what you said. And so the next question for me would be, okay, well, how often are you doing that thing? Right. So if it's a how often and it's once a week,
the thank you is one time and one.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. So it's not hard to really map out what needs to happen next. Okay, great. So Manny, what should I do? All right, well, let's figure out what we can do. One, and here's where we're at now with what I think about where we're at in 2024 going into 2025. I really believe, and a lot of what we talk about is leveraging automation for lots of different indications and clues on how to be better at our follow-up. But there's a lot to be said for still having the human interaction piece where we're continuing to communicate in a way, which is really what the follow-up paradox is about, because I'm sure you're going to ask me, right? So it's why less contact closes more deals. And so the myth is that more is better in sales. And so the paradox is less is more. And in this case, what we're talking about from a follow-up standpoint, because you can talk about a top of funnel addition where of course, run all the numbers you can. And at the bottom of the funnel, evidently, there's going to be more deals that close, but not more follow-ups per deal. You can bug the shit out of your client or your prospect because you don't know how to follow up properly. And so the idea in the follow-up paradox is to space out your contacts. Really, it's before that, is to make each touch point valuable, make each interaction valuable. Okay, space them out so that they miss you more. So for example, if I go out with you one night and I just met you on a date and it's the first time we're going out together and I know how good I am. I know I'm a catch. I know what I can bring to the table. Oh, I'm going to give you the most magical night ever. Like, it's going to be so spectacular that you're going to walk away and go back to your apartment, your house, or wherever you go that night and think, that was different, man. That was amazing. I don't know what it was about that guy or that gal, but holy moly, like I would love to experience that again.
Mm-hmm.
And then you knowing what value you bring to the table, you don't go right back to them tomorrow and start bothering them and trying to get them to go back out and do it again. You create some separation. Why? Because now that other person is going to start to gravitate towards you because you've now shown them how great it can be and that what you are able to offer is spectacular. And so I don't need to bother you. I'm going to create a gravitational effect because I'm that good in what I did with you while I had you in those circumstances. And so the same applies to the follow-up. What do I give to them in terms of their value, in terms of what they perceive as value? No, that's the tricky part. We don't know. You can add value in lots of different ways. You can provide ROI studies. You can provide case studies. You can provide sell sheets. You can provide true, transparent, expert value. You can send book. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I can go off for probably 10 minutes on the opportunities that we have there to add the value, but that's an important piece, right? So that's part of the follow-up paradox. Second part is that you're making every interaction a very important part of what it is you're doing. Okay. So when we do this, one of the things that I always tell people, as certainly as it looks through the data that we found, is that people are bombarding their customers and they're annoying the shit out of them. I get text messages every day with the same thing. Hey, we're doing a webinar. Check in right now. Hey, we're doing a webinar. Check in right now. Hey, we're doing a webinar. Check in right now. I'm like, wait a second. So number 2 is to make each touch point valuable. Well, is that valuable to me or is that just annoying?
Just noise.
It's annoying. It's a noise too. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So from that vantage point, that's the second thing. And then the third thing is to personalize it. How can you go beyond what's expected and give an experience to someone in the follow-up that makes you unconditionally stand on an island of your own so that it represents something that's unique to them in a way where they're like, oh, with that trifecta, I spaced it out, which made them want me more because I'm that good. And then I made each touch point valuable. Well, that was fantastic. And then I personalized it on top of that. In essence, that's the book. And obviously we go into a lot more nuances there with how we do that. And so to answer your question, getting back to originally what you said, is you need to follow a strategic cadence on what it is you're doing that does those 3 things, and then put in the tactical components about how you're going to go about that, and then test it and then run it, man. I mean, run the playbook, right? Run the playbook.
Yeah. Love it. That makes so much sense. Okay. Just for context here, buddy, I just went to, you're going to love this. I just went and downloaded this thing off your website because you're like, I'm like, okay, I gotta show them how to do this. This is really, really good. You got a really cool roadmap. I'm going to just share my screen real quick. You got a really cool roadmap on your website. Share a screen. There we go. For those of you watching, if you're listening audio, by the way, no big deal. I'll put the website I'm going to is thefollowupparadox.com. So that's the website right there. This little roadmap right here, dude, freaking genius. Like, by the way, there's the website right there at the bottom of the screen, thefollowupparadox.com. And like, you got good stuff. Okay. Here's what my team and I need, Manny, and I'm sure everybody else is the same way. And I love the way you've laid this out. I appreciate everybody listening in, by the way. Obviously, Manny and I are having a very insider conversation. We've known each other for a while, and what Manny does really works. We and everybody else in our community, we have people in the hopper. We've done a lot of work and spent a lot of money to get them there. We're not following up correctly. Not having to go do more lead gen for a couple of quarters, maybe even a year, and just working the leads you have because they're warm and they're more ideal than anybody else. That's where to start. And you've done a good job doing this. Where would you recommend we start? If I'm like, okay, we got 3.5 more minutes before we have to end this call. Mm-hmm. Where does the average person in Group Coach Nation start? Is it this website? Is it like read the book first? Like, how do I get my teeth into this?
With this material that I'm presenting, or are you looking for a true
tactical where would you recommend we go? No, where would you recommend we go right now to like, okay, I got to learn. I got to start taking some action. Where to go next?
Sure. So the page that you're looking at is going to give you a download for the roadmap so you can orient high level.
Yeah.
And obviously, our goal is to continue to help as many people as possible with our ads running and everything going on. This roadmap is a very valuable asset. It's just the tip of the iceberg, right? Just the tip of the spear. After that, you have the option. It's an option. There's nobody's putting a gun to your head to say, you have to do this, you have to do this. But there's an option to buy the book digitally. And then you also, as part of that, if you did do that for a whopping $27, you get a bunch of extra cool stuff that I have attached that I've been doing from a sales training standpoint for the last 5-6 years as well in our school community. So that's an option. If you don't want to do any of that jazz, then you can simply go to Amazon. You can buy the hardcover, the paperback. I always say hardcover because it's just natural the way that I say that. You can get the book directly. It's another whopping $9.95. The same with the planner, a whopping $9.95. We want to make it really easy for you all to get these tools to start using them.
Yeah.
And then I would say, with those in mind, start with the book. Start with the book. It'll breathe a deeper level of understanding, the same way that everybody has experienced it thus far that's read it. There's a lot of data in the book to support the claims that we make. We took that approach on purpose. And so you can validate some of what you're doing against what you might not be doing. And you can look to make those adjustments in real time based on the information we provided in the follow-up paradox, with some tactical things that you can apply in real time. And I always like to tell people to start small. Start with small little items on the list and test each one of those variables out, and then look at what's starting to adjust or change in your follow-up process, right? So if that helps, that helps. If maybe there's more down the road we could talk about.
It helps a ton. So I just went to the website as well, and here's what I recommend, folks: $27. Like, go get the free download, like I just did. The freaking stack of stuff. If you are a team member, a VA, somebody can just get your brain around this, I would recommend you get your brain around the big roadmap and figure out, like, strategically, where do I got to go with this? And then let a team member start running the play here, because you can scale this up really easily by delegating it. Manny, I love this process. I know you're right. Like, that's why I love this process. I know you're right.
Oh, and I don't even need to be right, man.
Yeah, but you know, we all second guess ourselves. Should I do more ads? Should I do more direct outreach? Should I do more organic? Should I host another event? Whatever. There's no mystery to what you're talking about here. It's a play, and it works because the leads are already in the bucket. You've already done the hard work, folks. This is quite a bit easier. Manny, thank you.
Oh man, appreciate you, brother.
Dude, it's so good to see you. Freaking love the studio too. It's like so beautiful. Yeah, nice job.
I wish I could take credit for it, man. I mean, I
love the studio.
And I show up.
I love the studio you rent. Yeah, well done. It's so much better than great.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, dude. Have a good one.
Good to see you, man. Let me know how I can help. Let me know if ever you want to talk about, because we got a newsletter too. If you ever want to do some type of co-promotion or swap or something like that, man, we've got a pretty incredible newsletter growing, man. I mean,
I'd love to.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. I've always
enjoyed
enjoyed
live right here, and everybody else. I'd love to. This is the real stuff that happens. Like, when you find a real value JV partner like this, dig in deep, build the relationships, because all of our people need our collective help. So, Group Coach Nation, get in there and do it.
We've got so many resources and tools for you all. It's like, it's crazy. I could keep going, but I don't want to bombard everybody with too much, because then it might do nothing.
Y'all know what to do. Do the work, get the results, like Manny. TheFollowUpParadox.com. There it is. TheFollowUpParadox.com. Peace out, y'all.
Thank you.